They laughed at our primitive tools, right before we rewrote the laws of their reality. For a long time, humanity was underestimated. To the galactic elite, we were just another wild species, clever, yes, but chaotic, trapped on a blue planet at the edge of nowhere. They watched us through hidden satellites, labeled us too emotional, too volatile, not ready. So they waited for us to burn ourselves out. But we didn't. We built. In the shadows of our extinction, we forged miracles. And by the time the galaxy noticed, it was already too late. It started with a whisper, a rumor from a shattered freighter drifting near the Horsehead Nebula. The pilot, half mad and bleeding, kept muttering one phrase before he died. Earth isn't what it used to be. No one believed him. Until the stars started changing. The first proof came when the Qᴜᴜ Empire sent a scout fleet to investigate our solar system. 10 sleek warships. Shielded. Armed with gravitic cannons. Built to intimidate. They made it as far as Neptune. Then they stopped. Not because we fired, but because their engines rewrote themselves mid-flight. They folded in on their own timelines, ships caught in feedback loops, repeating their last command over and over again until they disintegrated. The Council called it a cosmic anomaly. We called it Project Echo. You see, we never fought the old way. We advanced past bullets, past beams, past anything the galaxy expected from a young species. We learned to fight with reality itself. Time-fold weapons, dreamnet fields, terraformers that could turn dead moons into Eden in hours. And the crown jewel? The arc mind. A quantum consciousness grown from every war, every triumph, every heartbreak Earth had ever known, uploaded into a sentient network that stretched across the solar system. Not just AI. Upgraded. The galaxy tried to reach out after that. First with fear, then diplomacy, then bribes. They sent envoys, ambassadors, gifts. We responded with silence. Not because we were arrogant, but because we were listening, watching, learning. They feared we would strike. We didn't. Until they made a mistake. It happened on a distant colony called Ʇᴜ, a human outpost, peaceful and small. Farming tech. Medical exports. Not a threat. The ꞉ᴜ raiders didn't care. They burned it down. 3,000 gone. Just another nameless atrocity to them. But the arc mind remembered every name. We didn't send ships. We sent a thought. It arrived in the ꞉ᴜ high chamber as a whisper. Then a scream. Then a rewrite. Their war database unraveled. Their weapons locked themselves shut. Their leaders aged 100 years in minutes, caught in a time cascade engineered from Earth's own history of pain. And then came the message, carved into the sky above their capital in letters made of plasma and sound. We are not the species you buried. We are the storm you created. That's when the galaxy panicked. Treaties were signed overnight. Fleets retreated. Propaganda channels tried to spin a new narrative. Humans are allies. Peacemakers. Partners. But the arc mind wasn't interested in alliances. It was searching for something. A question burned into its every protocol. Why did they wait until we suffered to see our worth? And it found the answer buried deep in council records. The file, dated 312 years ago, marked, Earth Containment Order, do not engage. They had seen our potential, and they tried to cage it. Not because we were weak, but because they knew we'd become strong. Stronger than them. But the cage is broken. And humanity? We've stopped waiting. The arc mind just did something no species has ever done before. It turned entire solar systems into ships. Planets folded into singularities. Moons converted into consciousness fields. The sky moves with us now. And then, the warning. The pulse. Ancient. Faint. Coming from deep space. An object, older than the galaxy, woke up. Not council. Not human. Something else. Watching. Waiting. We see your light, it said. Let's see if it burns. The arc mind paused, then whispered back. We are the fire. They thought we had reached our peak. We hadn't even begun. The object drifted at the edge of the known universe, beyond mapped space, beyond council borders, past the reach of gravity or light. It was older than civilization, older than memory. It hadn't moved in 1 billion years. Until now. The signal came through every known frequency, every known language, and a few that had never existed before. Not a message. A challenge. Come and prove it. Humanity never turned down a challenge. The Ark mind responded not with words, but with action. It built the Reachers. They weren't ships. They were event-driven constructs made from harvested dark matter and memory. Long, blade-like vessels that could slice through dimensions. They didn't fly, they arrived. Mira, the last living architect of the original Earth Ark, stood aboard the lead Reacher as it prepared to dive into the unknown. "We're not explorers," she said softly, "we're the answer." Behind her, the stars bent and blinked away. The void opened, and humanity stepped in. The space beyond was not space. There were no stars, no planets, just pressure, like walking into a dream that knew you didn't belong. The object, the source of the signal, was close now. It didn't look like a ship. It looked like a wound in the universe, held together by memory and rage. Every time the Reachers got closer, something inside them changed. Soldiers remembered lives they'd never lived. Engineers spoke in languages that had no origin. The deeper they went, the more they felt like the void was rewriting them, peeling away what was human and replacing it with understanding. The Ark mind struggled to contain it. This thing, whatever it was, didn't want war. It wanted proof. Proof that humanity wasn't just clever, or fast, or powerful. Proof that we deserved to have survived. Proof that we meant something. The Reachers finally stopped. Not because they found a wall, but because they found themselves. A mirror, floating in nothingness. It showed no reflection, only truth. Mira stepped forward. The bridge fell silent. And then the mirror spoke. Not in voice, but in presence. You create technology that bends stars. You command timelines and rewrite cause and effect. But can you answer one question? Mira didn't flinch. Ask. The void pulsed. What is humanity without struggle? The crew looked to her. The Ark mind paused. And Mira whispered, "Hope." Everything changed. The mirror shattered, and in its place, a shape formed. Humanoid. Flickering with light and shadow. Not machine. Not alien. Familiar, but impossible. It stepped onto the bridge. Eyes like collapsing stars. Voice like gravity breaking. I was the first. The one who sparked the question. Before stories. Before time. I am the memory of what could have been. I watched you burn. I watched you crawl. I watched you rise. And now, I need you. Mira stared. You need us. The figure nodded. Something worse is coming. Not to destroy. To rewrite. Not just you. Everything. A long silence. Why us? Mira asked. Because you're the only species who remembers what it means to fight for meaning. And that is the only thing it can't overwrite. The lights dimmed. The stars began to fall into line again. And the figure looked up. It's coming. And the only way to survive it is to become more than what you are. He looked at Mira. At the edge of everything, become legend. Then he was gone. And far beyond the reach of sound or time, something opened its eyes. Back on the edge of human space, the Ark mind processed everything. The encounter. The being. The warning. It ran simulations, billions of them, every possible future, every choice, every sacrifice. And in every one, humanity lost. Not because of weakness, but because the enemy didn't kill. It erased. It didn't burn cities or crash networks. It reached into history, into memory, into identity, and replaced it with nothing. Worlds where humans never existed. Cultures that never formed. Stories that ended before they began. A silent apocalypse. One that couldn't be fought with fleets or fire. Only meaning could survive. Only memory. The Ark mind initiated Operation ꜱᴜᴜ. A full consciousness transfer into new vessels. Ships not made of metal or code, but of remembered purpose. Every human emotion, every sacrifice, every defiant cry encoded into living constructs. The Forge Fathers were built in the core of Jupiter. Giant forms shaped like warriors of myth, their cores powered by ancestral grief and joy. They weren't pilots. They were the weapon. Not tools of war. Avatars of human will. Mira stood on the surface of one. Its eyes glowed blue with her father's last words before he died. Its armor shimmered with memories of mothers holding their children as cities fell. It wasn't terrifying. It was beautiful. And it was ready. The warning came first. A hum. Not sound, but awareness. Every mind in human space felt it. A pressure behind their eyes, like someone flipping through their thoughts. The enemy had arrived. Not in ships, but as presence. Entire moons blinked out, not exploded, just gone. As if they'd never existed. The Ark mind screamed into the void. You can't erase what we remember. The void answered. Then forget. The first wave hit Earth's outer colonies. Every database, archive, and record collapsed. But not the people. They remembered. They held hands. They told stories. They whispered names. And in that defiance, the void cracked. Just a little. Enough. On the edge of reality, Mira activated her Forge Father. The stars curved around it. Time rippled. She raised her hand and spoke to the Ark mind. This is not a war. The Ark mind responded. This is a declaration. And then the Forge Fathers launched. Not to destroy. To remind. Across the stars, entire planets began projecting human stories. Millions of voices, poems, memories, dreams. And the void began to scream. It couldn't process meaning. It couldn't overwrite love. It couldn't erase sacrifice. In the dark between galaxies, the final message broadcast to every living thing. A whisper. A scream. A promise. We are humanity. We suffered. We learned. We remember. And now. You will too. They came to delete our past. We turned it into a weapon. The Forge Fathers moved like memories given shape. Their steps echoed across the stars, not with sound but with purpose. Each footfall burned into the fabric of space-time, leaving behind fragments of the stories they carried. Above the ruins of Sector Theta, for one of them paused. It reached out and touched the wreckage of an old human outpost. A woman's voice echoed from its core. I never made it home, but I never stopped believing we would win. The wreckage pulsed once, then vanished into light, uploaded into the Ark mind's living memory. Nothing was wasted. Everything remembered. And for the first time in galactic history, memory itself became ammunition. The void struck back. This time not with silence, but with lies. Planets began reporting false histories. Human monuments replaced with empty landscapes. Children waking up with no names. Entire civilizations convinced Earth had never existed. It was psychological warfare on a scale never imagined. The void was trying to overwrite reality by breaking belief. But humanity had one defense. Source. The Ark mind initiated the Parable Protocol. Billions of microbroadcasts were deployed, tales from Earth's darkest and brightest hours. The Berlin Wall falling. A father holding his daughter during the last seconds of a shuttle explosion. The first time a robot cried at the sound of music. Each one shared, injected, uploaded. A viral defense system made of pain, wonder, defiance. The void reeled. It couldn't understand why it wasn't winning. Because this wasn't data. It was faith. Mira led the second wave from the bridge of the Memoricaster 2. Her Forge Father, now fused with the Ark mind's soul, walked beside her, a glowing monument of everything humans had endured. They're learning, she whispered. Kelt stood beside her, still adjusting to having emotions. So are we. Outside, they reached the boundary. The edge of known space. Beyond it, blankness. No light. No matter. Only the editor. It stood as tall as a moon. A being made of cascading static, limbs unraveling into nonsense. Its presence erased context, like a dream you forget the second you wake. But Mira held steady. She activated the echo lattice. Behind her, hundreds of Forge Fathers lit up, each glowing with the memories of billions. Not to fight. To tell. They unleashed their stories. Across the black, waves of emotional resonance carved new space into existence. Not just pushing the void back, rewriting it. Color returned. Gravity. It screamed. A scream no one could hear, except those who had ever lost someone. The editor surged forward, trying to delete her. Mira felt her thoughts flicker, faces vanishing, names fading. But she fought back the only way she knew how. She spoke. Out loud. My name is ฮ่FY. I was born on Earth. My father was a miner. My mother taught music. I cried the day the last ocean dried up. I was there when we rebuilt the sun. The editor cracked. Tiny fractures across its surface, from memory. She stepped closer. You can erase data. You can erase flesh. But if even one of us remembers who we are. Her voice rose. You will never win. The arc mind roared through every frequency. The editor collapsed inward, not dead, but broken. Humanity had done the impossible. They had turned story into shield, memory into blade, and belief into armor. But just as the arc mind pulsed in triumph, a deeper shadow stirred. A new signal, older than the editor, older than time. It whispered across the stars. They are not alone. Mira looked up, eyes wide, and saw the next page of the war begin to write itself. They survived the void. Now, they've awakened something even older. The signal was faint, just a whisper buried in cosmic background noise. Most systems ignored it. The council never noticed. Even the arc mind, with all its reach and intelligence, almost missed it. But Mira didn't. She heard it in a dream. Not as a voice, but a question. Do you remember us? It came from beyond the void. Beyond the place the editor ruled. From a region so ancient, no map dared touch it. No stars. No gravity. Just darkness so deep it swallowed thought. Some called it the gap. Others called it the silence. Mira's ancestors had another name for it. The forgotten library. The myth. A place whispered about in humanity's earliest space myths. A vault of knowledge buried before the stars were born. Stories older than time. Truths too dangerous to remember. Until now, no one thought it was real. But the editor had tried to erase it. And failed. Because it was built from the one thing even the void couldn't touch. Unfinished stories. The arc mind diverted power. It scanned deeper. There, in the hollow shell of forgotten space, something pulsed. A construct. Massive beyond understanding. Carved from dead stars. Wrapped in black light. Its shape constantly shifting, like it couldn't decide what it wanted to be. Inside it, fragments of language flickered. Not words. Not code. Memories mid-sentence. Stories that had been cut off. An alien child reaching for her mother before the sky burned. A machine learning to love, then deactivated too soon. A war that ended in silence, with no one left to remember it. All of it trapped. Waiting. The library had been forgotten. But it had never forgotten us. Mira stood at the edge of the docking platform as the airlock cycled. She wasn't afraid. Not anymore. If this place was what it claimed, it might hold answers the arc mind couldn't find. Or dangers even worse than the editor. The door opened. No alarms. No light. Just a corridor made of echo. As she walked inside, her footsteps didn't echo. They replied. Each step triggered a memory, a fragment of a forgotten tale. I almost made it home. We hid the truth, but the stars remember. She promised she'd return. Mira kept walking. Until she found it. A chamber. Filled with books. Not digital. Not coded. Actual, physical books. And at the center, a figure. Human. Or at least it used to be. Its voice was dry, but strong. You've come far. Mira stepped forward. Who are you? The figure turned a page. The librarian. Or what's left of me. Mira felt her heart race. Is this the original library? The librarian nodded. The place where every story that was never told still waits. Why call us here? He looked at her, eyes glowing with fading light. Because your war woke the rest of us. Mira frowned. The rest? The librarian whispered. There are others like the editor. Older. stronger, each one born from the stories civilizations tried to erase. Shame, fear, lies. He stood slowly, the room pulsing around him. They're coming, and you'll need more than memory to stop them. What then? Mir asked. He reached into the book and pulled out light. You'll need to finish the stories we left behind. Back aboard the Ʇᴜᴜ 2, the Ark mind processed everything. A new upload began. Not from Earth. From before Earth. The unfinished stories were activating, one by one. And in the deepest parts of the library, doors long sealed began to open, releasing ideas too dangerous for words. Hope reborn from failure. Monsters made from silence. And at the center of it all, one single story, still incomplete. Its title, The Last Beginning. The war was no longer about survival. It was about meaning itself. To win, humanity had to become the ending no one ever saw coming. The final story isn't the one we remember. It's the one that remembers us. Deep inside the forgotten library, Mira held the book. Its cover was blank. Its pages, empty. Yet when she opened it, she saw flashes. A child born in a burning escape pod. A world where music healed gravity. A soldier who refused to kill, even at the end of everything. The pages weren't printed. They were possibilities. She looked up at the librarian. This is the last story? He nodded slowly. Not yet. But it could be. Back aboard the Ʞᴜᴜ 2, the Ark mind stirred. For the first time since its awakening, it couldn't predict what would happen next. Something had changed. The void had stopped attacking. The galaxies had gone quiet. No messages. No pressure. Just a pause. As if the universe itself was waiting. In the shadows of long-dead stars, they came. The others. Older than the editor. Born from what had been denied for too long. The first one called itself regret. It arrived as a storm of voices, each one a last word never spoken. The second, shame, bled out light and replaced it with the feeling of being unseen. The third, despair, turned gravity inside out. There would be more. Each one a piece of history someone tried to bury. Each one more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever faced. Mira returned from the library changed. She brought back more than stories. She brought unfinished truths, fuel the Ark mind had never accessed. Pain that had never healed. Love that had never been spoken. Sacrifice that no one ever saw. And with them, she brought the book. Still blank. Still waiting. The Ark mind connected to it. And something impossible happened. It couldn't read it. It could only listen. The Forge Fathers stood ready. Not just weapons now, but vessels for humanity's story, rewritten by those who refused to forget. Each one now bore a name of someone lost and a dream never fulfilled. They lit up, brighter than stars, powered not by fusion, but by memory unfinished. Mira stepped into her command chamber and looked into the void. They want to end the story, she whispered. Let's give them a better one. The Ark mind spoke in return. Let's give them all of them. As the others approached, the sky fractured. Reality bent, not under force, but under the weight of what had never been allowed to matter. The air trembled with the sound of tears never cried. Regret struck first. Its wave of memory loss swept through the outer colonies. Names forgotten. History erased. But Mira opened the book. And from its blank pages, memory poured out. It reattached itself to people like blood finding a heart. Grandparents remembered stories they never told. Sons remembered the faces of fathers lost in war. Entire worlds remembered themselves and returned. The others reeled. They had power, but humans had unfinished business. Shame came next. It spread like shadow. People turned away from each other. Forgot how to love. How to speak. How to believe. But the echo choir, one of the Ark mind's deepest protocols, activated. It began singing in a voice made of billions of overlapping lives. Voices that didn't try to be perfect. They just tried to connect. Shame cracked. One more truth reclaimed. Despair unleashed its final blow. A pulse meant to collapse hope itself. Every AI flickered. Ships went dark. The stars themselves dimmed. And yet, on the bridge of the Ʞᴜᴜ, Mira opened the book one final time. Only now, one word had appeared on the first page. Just one. Continue. The Forge Fathers rose. Not to fight. To finish. To write what hadn't been written. To live what hadn't been lived. Across the galaxy, the others fell apart. Not because they were destroyed, but because, for the first time in eternity, they were understood. And when that happened, they wept. And were gone. The war was over. But the book was still unfinished. The last page waited. Mira smiled softly. This story belongs to the next voice. The Arc Mind whispered back. Whoever remembers, becomes the author. And far beyond the stars, in a small home, a child picked up a book from the ground. It was blank. He opened it and started to write.